Cisco Show, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, don't touch that dial. We got a show here. We're talking about Columbus Day. We're talking about October the 12th, when Christopher Columbus discovered America. And here in Norristown, we have a beautiful monument, and we have with us the president of the Columbus Monument, and her name is, Carolyn Ternetta Carluccio Hutton, and she's my cousin. Okay, so now, all right, now we're talking about some great people. We're talking about presidents, and we're talking about the discoverers and people in medicine. Now we're going to talk about Christopher Columbus. Come on, let's tell us all about it now. It's a great thing here in Norristown. We got the only type of monument like this in the whole country.
Hank, I think it's really fascinating that right here in Norristown we have probably one of the best monuments in the country dedicated to Christopher Columbus and his memory. And the story behind the monument that we have here in Norristown is equally fascinating, I think, particularly to me.
Right.
I got involved in this committee because of a family relationship that I have, and it's not to you necessarily.
Right.
Back in 1926, there was a group of Italian Americans, I think about 12 of them.
Right.
And what they did was they went to Norristown Borough Council president, who at the time, his name was John Bulger.
Bulger, right.
That's exactly right.
Irish.
He was an Irish man,
Right,
yes
right,
he was.
right.
And he was a stonemason, in addition to being the president of town council. And they marched to him and said, Mr. President of Town Council, we would like to do something to honor the memory of Christopher Columbus. We feel very indebted to him. We feel it's because of his great accomplishments that we are here today, and we'd like to honor him. We share his heritage. And John Bulger at the time was thrilled to be able to do that, said, I agree with you, I will support you in this. It was 1926, a very difficult time in our country. And what he did was he donated a stone. And on that stone, it was engraved that here shall lie a monument to Christopher Columbus.
Right.
The stone was laid.
But no date on it.
There was no date, no information,
right.
very vague. And he laid it in a spot in Elmwood Park. What happened, as we all know, is our country ran on some very difficult times. We had the Depression, we had the World War.
29 was the Depression, right?
Yeah, right after that. And obviously, there was not money in the budget or anywhere else to build a monument.
Feed the people.
Well, and as it turns out, years later, that stone it was overgrown. There were a lot of branches on it, a lot of trees, everything was covering it. And a man named Hank Cisco.
That's me.
Who at the time was a detective
at
at the
a
county.
Motorcycle.
Yeah, good detective at the county detective's lab. Oh, you were a policeman
policeman
at the time. Found this stone and uncovered it, if I'm not mistaken. Right. You can tell me if I'm wrong.
Oh,
and you
right
researched
the
history of this stone.
We used
Is
to
that
go
correct?
there. It was nice and cool because there was no air conditioning, and it was under the trees. And I said, "It's monument there, little stone. It was like a tombstone."
It's a good-sized stone. If you go to the monument, it's there today still.
Right. And the fact is, Bulger was a tombstone carver, wasn't it? The family.
As part of as being a stonemason, they also made tombstones. Is what they did.
Right. An Irish tombstone, I never heard of it. Usually your old paisans are, Italian.
Well, the interesting part for me about this is John Bulger is my great-grandfather on my mother's side of the family.
Right. And now Joe Smythe, the judge, Common Pleas Court judge in Montgomery County,
is my uncle.
Is your uncle.
And that was his grandfather. Or there could be another great in there.
He heard about this, and boy, he jumped in, both feet,
And then he jumped out, and I jumped in.
Right.
Handing it down. I've got to find somebody to hand this on down to. That's what I need to do.
Judge now, and we'll talk about that. Maybe you. We'll talk about. We're going to Bob and Eve on that one. Go ahead.
So once you discovered this, I think that at that point in time I was not involved in the early '80s, and you created. You can talk about this better than I can. A committee to actually build this monument.
Dream that never died.
And what's I think fascinating is that if you look at the qualities of Christopher Columbus, this is a man who actually was not great on the facts. His estimate of how long it would take to get to the Indies, he thought the world was 4 times smaller than it is. And what he did was he sailed east when everybody else went west, thinking he would hit the Indies. And his navigation was wrong. He thought he could get to the Indies much quicker, because as we know, he did not hit the Indies, he hit the New World. But it was his navigation, his numbers were wrong. But what he was wrong in his facts, he made up for in his passion, his perseverance,
didn't
and his true belief that he would not give up, no matter what the odds were, no matter how much people said, you will fail.
Right. That's one thing I said about the high school student. Don't quit, don't lose a fight in the dressing room. Keep fight and keep going, determination, and
And
enthusiasm.
that's a story I think
Right.
that we can all learn from, and I think that it also echoes a little bit of the passion and the perseverance that you were able to complete the dream that was begun by those Italian immigrants back in the 1920s, and that's stone
We got a
mason.
committee together, and then Al Panapinto, the architect, and he come in and he drew that, come up with a concept of the monument, and 4 components. That says it was the water, the ship, the compass, and the,
And the-
well, there it is. Where it is
The world.
The world. Okay, so we proved the 4 things. So there it is, and that's what do you call it? An artist.
The rendition
right, yeah,
of what the monument looks like. And it does, when the water is going, it's really quite
Right.
beautiful. It's
Right.
large. As you walk around the outside where the
Right.
compass is, it tells the story of each of the
Each landings.
each
You had-
one
you
of the
had- you had
trips
four-
that Christopher
four
Columbus
landings,
took.
right. Right.
And the story itself, if you consider the fact that he was on the Santa Maria, the ship was relatively small.
Yeah.
It was rickety,
Oh.
it was old, it was wooden.
Wooden.
They had very little food, very little water. They fought off malaria, rickets.
Right.
They didn't have the vitamins they needed.
Right.
Some of the men they actually had on the ship, he absolved them. I think the Queen decided to absolve them of any of their, if they're felons, they were absolved
Right.
of their felony convictions so that they could sail on the ship.
Right.
And what was interesting is, even though the King and Queen of Spain let him do this trip and granted him this, it was very low risk for them.
They had
because
no
they
money.
didn't think, no money, nobody wanted to do it. It took him 7 years to convince them to allow him to make this voyage. And they figured, you know what, he's not going to survive. It cost us nothing. They gave him a title. They said, fine, if you do this, we'll make you the Admiral of the Seas. So they
Yeah,
gave him a
that's what he
title.
wanted.
So all he
Christopher
wanted.
Columbus, Admiral of the Ocean Sea.
Yes.
That's what he wanted, his title.
And they figured he wasn't
Yeah.
going to come back. So what did they have to lose? They gave him some rickety ships, and he was on their way. And if he did succeed, they were going to benefit by getting all the spices that he ended up bringing back from the New World. And that's what they were looking for, actually, from the Indies, were the spices. That was the great thing, the pepper.
Right. That was a great thing here in 1926 when they had a big parade. It started down at Main and Sweet Street, and they paraded up Markley Street, and they came out to the Elmwood Park with the crossing of Sturgill and Harding Boulevard. They had a big band, and celebration, and I went down to City Hall, and they got the minutes, handwritten
Right.
minutes, on how, and I just the way I said, why don't we build something here? Here's a stone they didn't complete it, and next thing you know, people start jumping in. They start sending money, and then I got in touch with the bank, and they set up a bank account, the Columbus, and it just then contractors but Senator Hall, we have to give him a lot of credit. He came in with state funds, and we have a model. We have a model of it, and that model was displayed in the rotunda up in Harrisburg. We have it in Montgomery, the courthouse, at City Hall, at the school. We just moved around, and people was just great. But just like anything, people die, people move away, and so you just have to revitalize and create, and that's what you're doing, and that's what you've been doing,
Well, we have to work
started
on
in
that.
1984.
Right, the monument's been there for now 40 years, 30 years, is that possible?
Yeah, right.
30 years, I guess, and,
Right.
and it needs some refurbishing, it needs help.
Yeah.
We always need interested people. We need to make changes, we need to update how we approach it.
right.
And I think the fact that this celebration started in Norristown at that monument in 1926 with a celebration, and that we're able to continue that every year in that same location is really a tribute to you, to the people of Norristown, to want to keep that tradition alive.
And especially the fact that we're in a revitalization, Norristown, and we've had visitors come from Italy, different countries, and they come and view the monument. So we're in the process of, fixing it up and, maintain it. You got to keep it going,
Always need people that
You
are
got to keep the
interested.
ball bouncing,
That's right.
But we've had almost the judges in Montgomery County, like Judge Smythe, who was your uncle,
My
right?
uncle, yes.
And he was a great help. And also we had Judge Branca. We honored him each year. We
Years
honor
ago.
someone. And also Judge Corso spoke there. And what's the name? The other.
Judge Rossini's.
Right. And Senator Hall, Connie Williams, Senator Hines. He came to Norristown and visited the monument. Also Specter and Governor Thornburg and the Italian Council, But Al Panepinto, he came to our meeting. He says, look, you don't have to have a picture of Columbus. The 4 components there will tell you. You look at it, you see the ship, the Santa Maria, you see the compass, you see the water, and the world, so you don't need a picture, and you don't see no picture there.
Those 4 elements tell the whole story.
Right.
Is really what they do.
Right. So, and then I just want to flash a couple of pictures and just show you that some of the people that we had involved here. Here we see the children from Gottwald School singing,
I think that's another important piece that you have maintained.
Always had the children
is the
involved.
children sing, and they have created a song around Christopher Columbus.
Dr. James Holton was the superintendent at the time, and he allowed the
Representative Joseph Lassinger.
Joe Lassinger,
Senator Specter,
right,
I'm not sure who the other
and
was.
Thornburg and Mario Milley, and quite a few. But you can see that we started. There was children here singing and standing in front of the flags. But the real one of the guys that really helped out was Mike DePaul. Mike DePaul. He called me and he says, I want to do something. He's a contractor, and he says, my brother was doing some contract work at Elmwood Park, and he was using with a bulldozer, and he hit a tree, and the tree came down and killed him instantly. It was a cousin, some close relation. He says, I want to do something in that, just maybe a stone throw from where the Columbus Monument is. And he come back with his what do you call it, front end loader or something, digging, and he started digging the hole, and the first hole that was ever dug for the Columbus Monument, he was right there. And he's been with us in the very beginning and helping, did all the cement work. I have a picture here. Well, here it is. There's the site without any, no monument. Now you can see what's there now. See, find that one picture. Oh, here he is. Here's with the bulldozer digging the hole the first time. So you can see a lot of work was put into it. A lot of people helping out, and that's what I got to give you credit for keeping it going. And then we're gonna this year, 2009, we're going to have a nice celebration at the monument. Maybe we'll have a little lunch or something.
This year, we always celebrate it on October 12th, which is Columbus
always on
Day.
the date when Columbus.
And this year, it falls on the Monday holiday, which is nice. So please come out, join us. Come see what it's all about. We'd invite you to join us. We usually have some snacks afterwards.
But you're going to be a little busy about that time, right? I understand you're running for judge, right?
I am in the process of running for
experience,
judge.
character, judicial temperament. Oh my God! And so tell me something about that. Now, your job. What do you do now?
Right now, I'm the chief deputy solicitor in Montgomery County.
A solicitor.
It's a lawyer that represents the 52 county departments and the county commissioners. It's a small office that we have. I'm the chief deputy there. I was a former chief public defender in Montgomery County, and before that, I was a federal prosecutor in the United States Attorney's Office.
Where?
I was in the District of Delaware for about 9 years.
That's federal?
That's federal. Federal prosecutor. Did a lot of trial work, a lot of appeal work. But I think that this year's judicial elections are they're unprecedented in Montgomery County. For the first time ever, I believe, we have 7 openings.
7 openings at one time.
Bench.
Usually there's always somebody dies or moves away or something, and then they replace them one at a time or so.
Well, what we have now is we have 3 judges who have reached mandatory retirement. Okay. We have one judge.
Who's that? Judge Nicholas, I think.
Judge Nicholas has retired, Judge Dreyer, and Judge Corso, I believe.
Corso, that's right.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
And then Judge Rossinies.
I knew when they were just attorneys. I'm getting old.
And Judge Rossinies has chosen not to seek retention.
Oh, yeah?
So he won't be back. And then we were given...
Is he the 7th one?
No, he would be there's 3 that are retiring. Judge Rossinies is not going to seek retention. Unfortunately, Judge Dickman had passed away, so her seat is still open. Oh. And then we have gotten 2 new seats because the caseload is so large in our Montgomery County court system that the legislature saw fit to give us 2 more seats. So that's where the 7 seats come from. Yeah. Right now, we have 21 judges sitting in Montgomery County.
21 in Montgomery County.
Of those 21, Hank, you may be surprised that there's only 1 woman and no minorities.
Only one now?
Only one woman sitting,
And
and
that's,
that is Judge Danielle.
Yeah, yeah.
So this year is a really important year, I think, for the county to show a little bit more diversity on that bench.
You're talking about, I remember when I was a policeman, the district attorney's office, I think Sandra Newman was the first assistant district attorney. I don't think they had many. Now I think there's more women district attorneys than there are men.
There probably are.
And
that's a representation of the bar itself,
yeah.
that there are equal amount of women as there are men practicing.
And that is great. Well, we almost had a woman president, so
Yes.
it was close, but I think maybe the next time around that could happen, But
Yes.
so, tell me something about you growing up in Norristown. What was it like growing up in Norristown? Okay.
Well, I grew up in West Norton, right outside of Norristown.
Right.
Went to the elementary schools, Marshall Street
Yeah,
Elementary
but
School.
your
is where I
dad
went.
was on Marshall Street.
My dad
right?
grew up on Marshall Street,
Marshall
right in
Street,
downtown
right,
Norristown.
right.
Yes, he was one of 6 boys.
Right.
And they grew up right in Marshall Street. He started his own business here. And I guess it was my father who really has always been my great role model in terms of
Charlie.
giving back. Charlie.
Charlie,
He is
right.
in real estate. And in terms of giving back to the community, how important it is to be part of your community, to be able to give back to your community,
right.
to reach out to those that may not be as fortunate as you are.
Yeah. There's some people, my whole life was working with juvenile and policemen. I always like a public relation and always, and you always have to have somebody. You know the story, if you want to walk on water, you gotta know where the rocks are, okay? So whenever like somebody would call and say, Sergeant Cisco, there's a lady here, she's up in age and she has no air conditioning, and a fan or something, okay. And I would call, I'd pick up the phone, Charlie, okay, come over here, buy the fan, that's your dad would do. Same thing with Pat Mascara, and different people, the Senator Hall and different people, different legislators that you would say, hey, somebody needs some help. So, so you came from people that was always sharing and helping. So,
and I think that's such an important part of where we're from, this general area. You find a lot of very good people, very giving people that are looking out for others. And I think that's such an important thing for us to pass on to our children, too.
More
pass
so
on,
now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. All right, and now, you have any brothers and sisters? What?
I have one sister. I have a lot of cousins. It's just
and-
my sister and I, Kathleen.
You look a lot like my daughter, Joanne. I don't know, I always say, Joanne, you have a cousin, look just like you, It's not just like it, but, resemblance. It's always a resemblance,
Yes.
So, all right, now, you're going to be campaigning for judge in Montgomery County Court, okay? Now, when's that come up? What's the story on
Well,
that?
there were 18 people involved in the race. We're now, after the primary, there are 14 of us. There are 7 on the Republican ticket and 7 on the Democratic ticket.
I mean, it's 7 and 7?
7 and 7, and in the fall, on November 3rd is Election Day.
It'll be 7 against 7? It won't be no...
There will be 7 chosen
Are they
ultimately.
cross? What's that story about they cross?
No,
What's
that was
all
been
about?
the primary.
Oh, you can do that in
In
the
the
primary.
primary, pretty much
That's
everyone
confusing,
had.
though, isn't it?
It can be very confusing, yes.
I don't...
But as it worked out,
Yeah.
there's just 7 on each ticket, and they're not
That's
the
who
same
won?
7.
The ones that were endorsed?
Yes.
The ones that won?
That's exactly how it worked. The 7 endorsed Republican candidates.
Well, I mean, if you're a
ultimately
Republican, you're a
succeeded.
Republican. You're a Democrat, don't put, well, I want to win. I'm going to put my name over there. When I win, I'm over there. It don't make sense. Be what you want to be and be what you
right
are.
now, the law allows that, and that's what happens.
Huh?
That's what is allowed by the law, that you can cross-file in the primary.
Sometimes you have to change the law,
Sure, but
I
right
have
now,
a drink on that. Change the law.
if you're able to get the signatures that allow you to be on the ballot, you can do
Oh,
that.
yeah. Well, by that time, the election's coming around, okay. Now, you have, there's another fellow. I had to say only the people I know, and I've had some dealings with, and I know Silo, he used to work in the district attorney's office, a great guy. We had a lot of fun. I was a county detective, and every time a district attorney would retire or transfer or leave or whatever, we'd always have a party for him. And he was always the
good old
the
days.
party guys. Yeah.
He's a very, very talented attorney
Garrett
also.
Page, nice guy, a real nice guy.
Very good man.
So, I'm so proud that that you're doing what you do. You have time to share, to help with the Columbus committee, and also you're working in the courthouse as a solicitor, and to help out with the Columbus, and also to be running for, you'd be your uncle. And what's good about here? Joe Smythe was involved with the Columbus committee. Now he became judge naturally, because he won't be involved because it's just fundraising. You know, when you're fundraising,
Right.
judge can't be involved in that, see? So, so I want to help you as much. So when you become judge, you know. we
Then I
come over-
can't fundraise, Hank, you
can't
lose me.
fundraise, yeah, but you come over and have fun.
Okay.
Have
I'll
fun,
come
you
over
know?
and have fun.
Okay. Now, tell me now, your dad. Now, tell me something about your dad. I would like people to talk about their fathers, you know, and what inspiration that your
Well,
father gives you.
He's been in business. My father has been in business for probably, I don't even know how long. He's 58 years maybe he's been in
Yeah.
business, 55 years. His own business. He's been very successful. And I think his success was garnered not because anything was ever given to him. It was garnered because he put in a lot of hard work, a lot of sacrifice. He understood what it took to get what he wanted and to get where he is today. He not only is successful, but he has got so much respect from the community at large. And I think that's what I've learned, that I would love to be like
Right.
my father. I mean, I admire him tremendously.
Right.
And I've learned a lot from him,
Yeah.
as I think a lot of people have.
Tell me something about now. Your job as a solicitor. I see that you're at the commissioners' meetings.
Yes,
And
sometimes.
In other words, as a legal question comes up, that's what you tell me what.
Well, generally
give me,
the-
for instance,
okay, well, generally
one of
the-
the projects that you work on.
I personally have worked on several projects. One of the biggest projects that I was able to work on, I'm not working on anymore, but it was the Barnes Foundation. If you're familiar with the wonderful museum and gallery that's in Lower Merion, Montgomery.
How is it? Where are we at?
Well, what's happened, unfortunately, when I got involved, the decision had already been made by the Orphans Court that it could move from Lower Merion Township into Philadelphia.
Philadelphia.
At the last minute, the Montgomery County put me in charge of making the argument that actually the county had standing to keep the Barnes Museum in the county. And a lot of people came up to me and said, you're never going to win that, don't do it, the county doesn't have standing, you don't belong involved. And when I first got involved, frankly, I didn't know a lot about it. But I learned, I became very passionate about it, and I became convinced that not only do we have standing to do this, to keep the Barnes Museum in the county, but that we should have been able to do that. It's a museum that belongs here, has always been here. The trust document
It's gonna
left
stay here?
by Dr. Barnes stated that he wanted it to stay here. Now, unfortunately, the courts had ruled otherwise, and the determination is made that it will move to Philadelphia. The original court document stated that they would replicate the building as much as possible that they're building in Philadelphia. That's going to be difficult. If you get a chance, get out to that museum now. It'll be there for several more years, but it's a wonderful
But it's
museum. It's a
earmarked
gallery.
for that.
It is set to move. There are people, they call the Friends of the Barnes, who are very passionate about this issue. They're not giving up on it. They're fighting their war in the public eye. But unfortunately, legally, I think the war is over.
Well, you sit at these commissioners' meetings, and I know that the commissioners are trying to help Norristown. Okay, well, not trying,
Yes.
they are. I mean,
Absolutely.
Tell me some of the I know that they want to help as far as the revitalization, and I had Matthews on here and they're talking about Norristown being the gem between Gettysburg and Philadelphia, where we could be the what they call a corridor between the two. And they want to make Norristown the county seat, which is the county seat, a really brush it up.
Thriving, and there are county seats in our area that have managed to accomplish that. And Norristown has a lot to offer to bring it to that point. We're on the river, which is a very important part
That riverfront development
the
would be great.
riverfront development, and we have a long way to go. But if we have the people that are interested and the businesses that are thriving, we need to bring people into the county seat to live and to pour money back into the economy there.
And SEPTA built the 505-car garage.
The
You got another
garage, we
on-
have the bus depot there, we have the trains that come
That's
in,
right.
a beautiful train
Right.
station there. So we have all the pieces.
We got the
Now-
zoo. We
and
call it
we
the
have-
Norristown Zoo.
The
I call it
Elmwood
the
Park
Norristown.
Zoo
I
is
call
a
it the Norristown
wonderful
Zoo.
place.
I mean, I'm sorry. I'm for Norristown, and I don't know why they call it the Elmwood Park Zoo. It should be called the Norristown Zoo. If it's something good, they call it the Norristown State Hospital. You call it the Norristown Montgomery County Library. So it's something good, put the name on it. You get free rent, so come on. That's something else. I'll take care of that later.
Another issue to take up, so yes.
That's one of my pet peeves or something. But, okay, now, on Columbus Day, we like to have, we usually have the Knights of Columbus. They come.
They do the changing of
full
the
regalia.
color guard.
right? The color guard. And each year, you haven't disclosed yet who we're going to honor, right?
Secret.
But we'll have someone be honored, and usually we start about 11:30. The program start about 11:30, and then also in the afternoon, there's another an affair, Columbus golf outing.
There's a golf outing out at Bellwood Country Club,
Right.
which is a
And that's
wonderful
the Italian
golf outing.
Heritage,
It's the
right?
Italian Heritage Council,
Right.
which will follow on the heels
Right.
of the Columbus Monument celebration. We also have a wonderful singer.
Right.
Usually, Cameron sings the national anthem, and
Yeah.
we're lucky to have him.
Yeah, yeah. And then we
Very
had
moving.
Dean Garofolo that sings "How Great Thou Art," you know. So, you know, it's great. So, ladies and gentlemen, half hour is over, and don't forget now, October is Italian Heritage Month. So do something Italian. Cook some spaghetti, make some meatballs, come to the Columbus Monument, you know, have a little party, you know, do something. Be proud of your heritage, regardless of, you know, what country your parents come from, but be proud of your heritage. And I think that's what we should be proud of. I know I'm proud of Norristown. I'm proud of my parents that had the guts enough to come over to this country to make a better life for themselves. And now I have my cousin here, this president of the Columbus Monument, and who is now great American democracy. She's running for judge in Montgomery County, and I wish you all the luck in the world, you know. And so, Carolyn, thank you very much.
Well,
and,
thank you for having
so
me,
we're going to
Hank.
have a little bit of alla salud.
What I say is pass it on down to your children. Take your heritage, celebrate it, and pass it down to your kids.
Alla salud.
Salud.
So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for allowing us to come into your home, and God bless each and every one of you. Thank you. Good.